Okay, hi guys, how is it going today? Well, I hope. Anyway, I thought I'd do a video about one of my videos, which is kind of a bit of an ego thing almost, isn't it? But it's like the snake eating its own tail to some degree. But I think there's a lot of interest in YouTube and how much money you can make from YouTube, and individual success stories about specific videos and what the sort of turnaround, what the revenue generated from those videos is. And I'm certainly no expert in YouTube. My channel is very much a little sort of hobby channel. I just have interests, various interests, and I share videos on those sort of subjects. I don't intentionally make videos to make money, but it's obviously really nice if they happen to make money at the same time. So my most popular video to date is this frame rates for animation video that I uploaded back in 2017. And it didn't get that many views when it first went up, a few hundred maybe, and then something happened in sort of November of last year, 2018. I think Google stumbled upon the video. Somebody working for Google stumbled upon the video, thought, oh, that's kind of interesting, and then they sort of put that in front of people and drove up the listings. So all of a sudden we had a bit of a viral video on my hands. And so to date, let's have a look at some of these stats. So about 2.7 million people have viewed the video to date. So about 46,000 likes, about 2,000 dislikes, and about 4.7 thousand comments, something like that. So yeah, it's doing really well, especially for a very small little channel like mine. Like I said, it's a hobby channel, very eclectic and all over the place, just a reflection of my own interests. Not particularly well targeting. I kind of do that intentionally because, like I said, it's a hobby channel. I don't want YouTube to take up too much of my time, and I also don't want to treat it too seriously. So on that kind of basis, it's done very, very well. Hell of a lot of luck involved. So let me just quickly talk about the background behind the video, and why I made it and who's watching it, and kind of why it's successful. So like I said, mostly luck. So I made this video because I have an interest in animation. I'm by trade, I'm an animator, and I produce animation on a week by week basis. That is my trade. And so I specifically made this video sort of fairly shortly after YouTube started to have the option to play 60 frames per second in its playback. And so I chose 60 frames per second as the sort of benchmark, and then I also compared that to 30 frames per second and 15 frames per second. So you could see them side by side and what they look like, and how smooth they appear in playback, basically. So that's the sort of the background of that. It's about production of animation. It's about the industry of animation. It's not really about anything that's very, very sort of mainstream. But what I believe has happened is that it tapped into the video game market. It tapped into those that whole kind of console wars and that sort of PC gamer versus the console gamer thing, where you get people that their console can only run a certain game at 30 frames per second, and then they get laughed at by PC gamers who's running theirs at 120 frames per second, and crazy stuff like that. And so it tapped into that whole kind of young men video game market, which is a huge, huge market, especially on YouTube. So as you can tell, what I intended for the video and what the end viewership of the video is hugely different. I mean, even though I am interested in video games, was not the intention of the video at all. And the reason I can tell that is who's watching it is because I get hundreds of comments on this video, coming in all the time, and the vast majority of the content of those comments is talking about video games and frame rates and sort of laughing at each other and arguing and all that kind of stuff. So I know that's the vast majority of viewers. I'm sure a few of the viewers are like me, animators or content creators, and they're interested in frame rates from my side of things. But the vast majority is definitely video gamers. So that's the sort of background of the video, and as you can tell, a hell of a lot of luck that this one got picked up. Wasn't really intended to do this well, but either way, let's march on and have a look at some of the harder stats in terms of revenue and everything. So if we have a look at what it's actually earning at the moment, so this is over the last 30 days, so in a month basically, it's earned 2,000. Oh, I was going to say 2,000. It's earned £26.77, which isn't a whole lot. So less than £1 a day it's making at the moment, because it's had its moment now, and the views are kind of like, you know, really quite low. It does seem to be spiking back up over the last sort of week, so maybe we will get a bit of a snowball effect and another sort of spike coming up. So maybe we'll tip over into the 3 million view mark over the next couple of months if I'm lucky. So it does seem to be picking back up again. But yeah, so at the moment it's really not earning very much. It's getting about, in a month, it's getting about sort of 48,000 views and earning about £27 basically. So not, you know, you're not going to retire on that, but it's still nice that it's still dripping away and still generating a little bit of revenue. So let's have a look at what's a bit more interesting, and that's the lifetime of that video. So since upload, so remember I uploaded this on 2017 in the middle, in like the summer, and then it was like nothing, and then there's this huge spike, and that was in about December of 2018, so just sort of coming up to Christmas. I suddenly got crazy views, and that was obviously when somebody at Google stumbled upon the video and decided, oh, that's kind of interesting, and they shared it and they promoted it, which was really nice of them. And you know, I certainly, this video would be an entirely obscure video without that, because my channel is so small. So yeah, very huge amount of luck. You know, it's just like fishing. You cast your worm in the water, you cast your rod, whatever the metaphor is, and you wait, and sometimes you catch nothing, and sometimes you catch a whale. And this particular video, for me, caught a fairly sizable whale. So let's have a look at the revenue. So in its lifetime, so this particular video, with its 2.7 million views, has earned over £2,000. So £2,136.88. That's an estimate. That's not exact, but I can confirm that I've had over £2,000 paid to me from Google, so it's not going to be far off. And the vast majority of that revenue and those views all came within the space of about 3 weeks or a month, around about just before Christmas time. And let's have a look at some other stats here. So in terms of geography, it's mostly from America, 35% from America, and then UK is about 6%, and Germany about 4%, and Brazil 4%, Indonesia, a bunch of other countries around about the sort of 3% mark. Mostly male, which is not unusual for YouTube. 93% male and 7.5% female. YouTube tends to be a male-dominated kind of space for whatever reason, for good or for bad. It just tends to be the way it is. And the playback locations, mostly from the YouTube watch page. That seems to be the way everything's going with where people are, where videos are being played these days. There was a time a few years ago where a lot of your content would be watched embedded. It would sit in YouTube, the file would be in YouTube, but that would then be embedded in places like Facebook and, you know, other pages, and so you'd get a lot of views from embedded locations basically. But now they're really competing with each other. All these social networks and platforms, they're all competing with each other so badly that they tend to hide videos from other sources. Like I know for a fact that Facebook hides, when you embed a YouTube video in Facebook, it hides it because it really wants to promote its own videos. So you kind of have to upload videos. Like some of my videos that I upload to Facebook do better than they do on YouTube these days. It really does depend, but certainly if I put the same video, an embedded version on Facebook, and a actual physical upload video to Facebook, the uploaded one will get way more hits than the embedded one, because they kind of just are competing. So that makes sense that the YouTube watch page is nearly 100% of the views for that, and not embedded files. And the traffic sources is mostly browse, so that's going to be the Google promoting my video for me, whichever way, you know, putting it in the what's hot type pages and things like that. And then 4.2% is searching, so people specifically searching for frame rates for animation or frame rate comparisons or something like that, and they would have found it that way. So yeah, as you can tell with this particular viral video, a hell of a lot of luck. The actual contents of the video is really simple, and it's just me talking, waffling on about frame rates for animation. It's, you know, if you have a look at the view duration, that kind of reflects that. The average view duration, it's it's over 5 minutes long, but the average view duration is only about a minute because they're just watching it for the comparison for a few minutes or seconds, and then they are getting bored and tuning out, which I completely understand because I'm waffling on about in industry stuff about animation, which the vast majority of the watchers for this particular video aren't interested in, which is fine. I can completely understand that. So there you go. So that kind of gives you an overview of what you can earn. Now, with what I find is with this particular video, this is probably fairly average, like around about £1 per 1,000 views. I mean, I'm getting a little bit less than that here, but I think that's fairly average for an average kind of viral video on YouTube. It really does depend on the type of content and how specifically you can pick out a demographic. So what I mean by that is, say if you have a channel and a video which is very specifically targeted at technology, like cameras or something, like some of my other videos are camera related and lens related and technology related. Now I tend to get a better return per view for something like that than I do for something like this, which is clearly tapping into the gaming market, but not actually that specifically, like it wasn't even intended for the gaming market. And so if you have a video which is easy for the YouTube algorithm to tag an advert on, which is then relating to your audience, for instance, if it's like testing a lens and they can put camera related adverts before the video, the watcher is more likely going to watch that advert, and therefore you get the money because they watched the skippable advert. Or they could possibly do a click through to find out more about the product, and you'll get money that way as well. I like a very small amount for each time, each view, each click. But my point is, you're more likely going to get a better return if the advert is related to the end, the watcher, the viewer. So if it's a video on a very specific topic, a very specific product or something like that, they can then get adverts which then relate to that, and you're more likely going to get a better return. On average, I'll probably get about sort of two, maybe £3 at most per 1,000 views on my more sort of specific videos. But I would imagine like a more generic kind of viral video, like a cat jumping on a baby, or I don't know, a car crash, or something which is very sort of clickbaity and generic. You probably get less than £1 per 1,000 views because the advert is going to be very generic, and it's probably going to be not necessarily going to tap into that audience, and they're going to ignore it. They're going to skip it quite quickly to get to the little bit of clickbait, the little video of a cat falling off a window ledge or whatever it is. But you get my point. The more generic the video is, the less return per view you're going to get, as far as I can tell. I'm no expert on this, but that seems to be what I experience on my own channel, and also what I hear from other people on their channels as well. So if you really want to make money on YouTube, you really want to have a very specific demographic market in mind, and you want to target them, and you want to have all the titles of the videos and the links in the videos, everything to be very specifically targeted to that audience, and then that's much, you stand a much better chance of actually getting a return on your video. Anyway, there you go, guys. I thought I'd share a little bit of information about my own experience on having a viral video on YouTube. Like I said, my channel is not really about that. My channel is just a kind of hobby channel, and it's just a reflection of my own interests. So this is just kind of, a little bit of cream on top of the cake, really. Like, even if I get a few hundred views and some positive feedback, I'm quite happy. So getting nearly 3 million views on a video is fantastic. It's just, it's just an extra thing. But my advice I would give to anyone who's thinking about putting some time into YouTube and creating a channel and creating some content is I'd highly recommend, unless you're a big team investing money and time and treating it as a full-time job, treat it as a hobby, treat it as a fun pastime. Don't get too serious about it, because it's very easy to get very disappointed by the low views and feel defeated. And that's why it's best just come at it from an attitude of a fun hobby pastime. And then if it happens to go somewhere and you happen to make a load of money, then that's fantastic. But don't come at it like that. don't come at it expecting that. You know, manage your expectations, and you'll have a much better experience with using YouTube. Anyway, guys, just my bit of advice. Like I said, I'm no expert. I'm just sort of telling you my own findings and my own experiences, and and sharing with you what I made from this little viral video. Peace out. I hope that was vaguely interesting, and I'll catch you next time. Cheers, guys. Bye.